Hassan, the steps taken by the government so far, are they too little, too late to prevent a total disintegration of the economy?
Thank you for receiving me on this program. Let me reiterate that every time I give an interview, being on Jazeera or any other media, we repeat the same answers. The Lebanon issue is not a budget for this year. As you know, the budget that is discussed in the parliament today in September of 2022 is for the 2022 year, which means we are only 3 months away from the end of the year. And it's all a cosmetics of numbers that the government is putting together. Let me remind you, this government is formed, like all governments in the last 30 years, by parliaments which is regenerating itself non-stop. And the parliament and the government are made and regenerated by a bunch of 7 or 8 people running the country in a mafia style of 1930 Al Capone type. And our solution is no longer do we do this, do we do that? Capital control or bank secrecy. What do we do in order to return people? Our problem is a systematic problem. Our problem is a secular, is a sectarian system, which was built after an ugly civil war. And then we thought we will see the light in 1989 during Taif Agreement. The same people who fought the war ruled it after that. So they committed war crimes and then they committed peace crimes. It is unprecedented. This is the only country in the world where the population money is looted by the same people who fought the war and still ruling and still presenting budget. So you ask me, is it too late that we're presenting budget? It's not the budget. It is the system.
Okay.
The system needs to change.
Hassan, I feel like you want to step in.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with my colleagues Sami and Waleed. All I'm saying, we don't have to refer always that we are in the middle of the regional conflict. The regional conflict, no question, does affect the fact that we have we are geographically on the border with Israel is correct, and there is an armed struggle against them. But however, we always insist that the corrupt system, the failed state, brings conspiracy on us. Not there is a conspiracy to create a failed state. We are asking, and Sami, being someone who lives in Lebanon, I don't blame him for looking always at a micro rather than macro. That in the last 2 years, already in the last 2 years, there was nothing done by the government. The government is the criminal, and the government is the judge standing in court to judge a criminal. So they are the criminals and the judge. Those people are incapable of providing reforms to crimes and corruption they created. This is as simple as that. I mean, we can talk about whether capital control is feasible now or whether if we do IMF plan. Okay, do IMF plan. It gives you $3 billion over 5 years and condition it to blah, blah, blah. But so what? We are in a gap of over $100 billion.
Hassan, the IMF in particular and the international community said this time we would like to see some genuine financial and economic reform. We don't want to see or hear about any cosmetic reform. And one of the main preconditions by the IMF, they said to the president, to the government and to the parliament, we want you to increase taxes, particularly custom taxes. But it seems that the government is afraid to move ahead with this because they're just afraid of a popular backlash. Give us your intake on how should the government deal with this in particular?
Sir, I've spoken personally to some of the delegations of the IMF during their presence in Beirut. And I say it on public TV and I'm responsible for what I say. Some of the officials of the IMF despise Lebanese officials. They know that they are cheating them. And they know there will be no reform. So increase custom taxes as well is not a magic solution. You take it out of the drawer and you implement it. You increase customs in a normal economy which is trying to recover. Our problem, apart from the systematic problem I mentioned politically, we have a problem of banking sector. You cannot reignite an economy so that it goes back to normalcy without a proper functioning banking sector. The bank owners are behaving as well as politicians, if not worse, very irresponsibly. As well as the depositors are in denial that they lost their deposit. The bank owners are in denial that they have their banks are bankrupt. Their banks are not able to finance a recovery of the economy because they lack capital and dollars. And we need proper banking in order to reignite the economy. What's the solution? Is that you have to insulate and isolate the current bankers into bad banks, the current politicians into useless politicians, and bring fresh banks in the country with fresh investments so that we can go back to what we call gradually normal economy, and we can reignite whether agriculture, industry, commerce, and the like. Unfortunately, those populations and those bankers are so much empowered, they will prevent this. So we are in a vicious circle. The IMF will not be able, and they are not convinced that they can do anything. What we need as a solution, if you ask me, not the IMF, we need that international powers are convinced finally that it is in their national interest, because if they don't consider it's in their national interest to do something, we're going to go back. We're going to go, not back. We're going to move very fast into a Somalia situation where there's a failed state for the last 30 or 40 years. Lebanon needs international pressure to insulate and pressure current politicians to step aside and build a state from scratch.
I appreciate if you can give me some very short answers, if you don't mind. Gentlemen, I'm really sorry because we're really running out of time. Sami, Nader, Hassan Ahmad, Khalil, Walid, Fakhruddin, I really appreciate your insight. Looking forward to talking to you in the near future about this quite interesting story coming out from Lebanon. And thank you too for watching. You can see the